gonna rock! Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rockapedia. I'm Music Man Mike. Joining me as usual, running the show, Dylan the producer. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, sitting behind a desk and pressing buttons, so
What
can't
a life.
be better.
What a life. And then we got Gypsy Joe, straight out of Richmond, Virginia today. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing good, man.
Everything kosher in Richmond, Virginia? No snow, ice, weird weather?
Oh, man, it's like been 60 and 70 degrees out here.
All right, then let's move on to the rock and roll. We don't talk weather or sports here,
Yeah,
sir.
we don't do weather, man.
All right, and special guest today joining us in online on the screen here, Zack Nicholson. Zack is living in Kansas City, Missouri right now. Is that right, Zack?
That is correct. We've been here about 15 years now. Finally got out of Wichita, and I think we're going to stay out of Wichita.
Zack, you and me both, sir. So,
Yeah.
so
I'm
Zack,
back.
the reason Zack's
Three
on
of
the
us.
show, Zack's been a
We
good.
finally did it, boys.
He
Yes.
finally-
It took many years.
yeah. Well, Joe beat us all to the punch, so he's the winner. He
Yes,
gets the
he did.
award
Yes,
for
he
staying
did.
and staying gone the longest too, not visiting. Whoa! Try to pull that
I don't know
one
if
off,
that's a good
Zack.
thing.
Try to pull
That's
that
right.
one off, living 3 hours away in Kansas City, Zack. Hey,
Yeah, I still got to
Yeah.
go back every once in a while.
yes, you do. So the reason Zack's joining us today, he's been a longtime friend of mine, longtime friend of Joe's as well, and we played in a band together. So if you watched the episode with Michael Lacey on here that we did a while back, Mike was a guitar player in Love and Rotation, and Zack was my bass player in Love and Rotation. And the only person that hasn't had his episode yet, he's probably going to be calling me up or Facebook, and be Bad Chad Stubbs on the drums. So we might have to even squeeze that one in with Chad. But I met Zack when he was probably, I want to say 16, right, Zack?
Yeah, it was about 16 years old.
Yeah. And I think I was 22, probably 22, maybe 23. But
I don't know. I
that
think
you-
you were a little bit older than that. Maybe
No.
24. Like,
No, I
I'm
don't think so
50.
because
I'm 57 right
I
now.
wasn't. I don't think I
57.
was 21 yet.
oh, you were. So 57.
Uh-huh.
I will be 50 this year. So 8 years. So 23, 24.
I was 23.
That sounds right then. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
about 23. So
You're
the funny
16.
part,
I just turned 21.
and
Now
Chad
that
was
we
probably,
got that figured out.
if you were 16, Chad was probably 17, right?
Yeah, he was older because I was definitely the baby of the band.
And then Michael, I think either had a fake ID or he was on the verge of being 21, but he was like only 19 or 20. And I would see Mike out at clubs. So me and Joe would go to these nightclubs, dance bars or whatever you want to call them back in the day. And Mike would be there. That's kind of how we met at those
Discotheques.
places. We saw each other at those places. And then when I finally got around to joining the band, and that story is in the Michael Lacey episode. But I got to meet Zack, I got to meet Chad, and put the band together. And getting these guys into a place where you had to be 21 was kind of tricky sometimes, but we pulled it off every place we went.
Well, it's that whole thing where you just play that card. I'm in the band, and you can
Yeah.
pretty much do anything that you want every time ever. All you got to do is say I'm in a band. So that definitely worked back in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if it still works now, but it certainly did then.
And it worked real well for Chad. He was real comfortable with it because he would get on his microphone and say, "Could you bring me a beer, please?"
What else does a drummer need a microphone for? I
You're
mean,
not even
it's-
21.
except
What
for
are you
to
out
order
ordering
drinks.
beer for over the microphone?
But Mike, he's in a band. It's okay.
Yeah. So, hey, one of the stories we talked about on the Mike Lacey episode, and I thought about it the other day, when I first met Zack, it was after meeting Mike and after Mike played that gig with us as a Cold Sweat bass player where he borrowed your bass. So the funny thing is that Mike altered all of our universes by telling me, no, you can't have my bass player's phone number.
You know, that's the first time I've ever heard that one because I just thought that he was hanging out with you guys and you asked him. So now that I know the real story,
Yeah.
I'm like wounded over this whole thing. We'll have to hash
Yeah.
this out with old Mike.
So before I was in the band, Joe had seen you guys at least once, and he said, you got to go see these guys. They play Guns N' Roses, they play Faster Pussycat, they play The Cult, they play all this stuff that nobody else in Wichita plays. And I said, yeah, I don't
They were
believe you. I'm
playing-
going to have to go check it out.
They were playing a battle of the bands at Rock Island, and Ian was the singer.
Yep.
I can't remember who the drummer was.
Uh,
you and Mike
It actually
played.
might have been Brad Robinson, actually.
It was Brad. It was Brad.
Yeah.
So
Bad Brad
I
Robinson.
mean, it wasn't that it was great music. it was kind of bad.
Come on.
But I was like impressed by the selection of songs. I was like, all right, this is what we need because we're the only ones that listen to this. Everyone we were hanging out with is listening to like Bachman Turner Overdrive, Led Zeppelin, Leonard
I don't know
Skinner,
why
all the old stuff.
Why do I always default to Bachman Turner Overdrive when it's probably not true, but I say it every time? Steppenwolf.
Every band in Wichita played Bachman Turner Overdrive. That's
Everybody
what they
played
did.
taking care of business. I don't
That's
care
right.
who you were. Not us, though. Not us.
So it was good to see a band of people closer to our age that were like playing music that was like new and more updated and yeah, like I said, it wasn't great and Ian was awesome. Like he's always entertaining.
Yeah.
And after the show, like I remember the next day I saw you at work and I was like, dude, you got to go see these guys. Like you just have to because like this is what needs to be happening in Wichita right now.
So the other thing about the bands that weren't playing that kind of music that everybody else in Wichita was doing, they also had facial hair, like mustaches and beards.
Yeah.
It was mostly.
I remember we all refused to do that.
Yeah, no facial hair until grunge came along. Then I got the soul
until
patch.
like 1990, 91, you could not have the facial hair. That was a big
That's
no-no.
right.
That was one of the things that really stood out when I started going to the clubs and seeing the bands. That's why I think that we were so cool because I wasn't even into any of that.
Yeah.
So funny story about that first gig. Brad Robinson, he was a high school friend of mine. He was playing in that band Night Train, and they needed a bass player. And I used to hang out, listening to their practices, doing crazy things. And I was a drummer. And so all of a sudden they're like, dude, we need a bass player. I'm like, I've never played bass before. That doesn't matter. Van Powell was like, that doesn't matter, dude. You got the look. We'll teach you. And so
all right, Van.
I'm like, well, of course, this is all I want to do. I don't care about music. So anyway, probably 2 weeks later, that was that gig. And ever since then, like I turned into a bass player right after that. So the music might not have been good, but that was like Sid Vicious jumping up there on bass, not knowing how to play, but putting on a heck of a show, I hope. So.
Oh, yeah, always. You flipped your hair better than anyone in town.
That's why I was in the band. Because I could flip my hair.
The only thing you had in common with the facial hair guys that like Bachman Turner Overdrive is you had black leather pants.
I think even at that time I had the zebra spandex pants, but we lost those pretty quickly after one of those gigs, for sure.
Yeah, I don't remember those.
I remember seeing. I remember seeing the old pictures of.
Forget I said that.
I remember seeing old pictures of Night Train with Van glammed out and Ian as well glammed out. It was like that didn't last long.
No, I think one of our guitar players actually had a wig as well, because he was balding. He was an older guy, so that's why we switched the band up a little bit after that. So
I seem to remember Brad having a wig.
I think that he did a little bit, but then he's finally like, I'm good with it. This is what it is. So
yeah, there was a couple of guys in that band that had wigs. I remember that.
Was Shadow?
Hey, man, I didn't hold it against you, man. I did not. I was like, hey, I'm impressed by the song list.
Bro, I was so happy to be in a band and Ian was in it. Like, he was like the coolest guy ever. I'm like, you guys wear your wigs, do what you want to do. I'll put on my leather pants, I'll put on my black eyeliner, and I'm gonna go play for 21-year-olds.
Was Shadow one of those guys with the wig? Remember Shadow?
Shadow. Wow.
As soon as you said Shadow, that's what popped in my head.
That's so funny. Wasn't he a singer in one of those?
He was in Foresight or Electric Leather or one of those bands.
Electric Leather.
Was that who it was?
Electric with an L.
Leather. Chuck Good was in Electric Leather. He was a guitar player.
Yeah,
that's so funny. Some of these names, I don't even remember half these names. It's funny how you say them and now they pop into your mind. And
oh
my gosh.
Yeah, before Initial Impact, there was Electric Leather.
Yeah, Initial Impact. That's right, there was. And Zach, you probably don't remember this. I don't know. It was probably before your time. But there was at one point where a guy from California came into Wichita, or they heard about him, or they sent somebody to Wichita to check out Vinnie Morning. And Vinnie was a great singer, as you know, still is to this day, still performs 5 nights a week. Great guitar player, great singer. They took him out to Los Angeles and wined and dined him, and they kind of told him, hey, we need to work on your look, this and that and the other. When he came back to Wichita, he had a wig on.
I actually remember him wearing that. That's why. Now I know the backstory. Now I can actually he's trying to be famous. So
he was never comfortable with that thing. He always looks so uncomfortable.
He looked so sad every time you'd see him, and then finally took it off, and he was back to the old Vinnie again. He didn't want to go to L.A.
The 80s were tough, man.
Will do to be famous. Things will do to be famous.
So then, a little history of the band after that, and we talked about this as well. I've talked about it before. I don't know if it was with Mike Lacey or with some other people on the show. We've tried to have as many people as we can, just a wide variety of guests. But one of the stories I told was the transition. So we all got kicked out of Love and Rotation one at a time, right? Me being the first.
Oh, wait. So I watched Zach Bartholomew, or whatever his last name is, just right before so I could prep for the show.
That was who I talked to.
I quit, bro. So we just need to make that perfectly clear.
I was going to backtrack about 30 seconds and say that when I was talking about it. Or did you quit?
Okay.
But I wanted you to be in the same arena.
Has to be clear.
I wanted you to be in the same arena as me. Fired. No, so yeah, it was almost kind of a mutual deal with me because I was really on my way out anyway. I wanted to stay in the band. But I was also having some personal issues at that time, girlfriend problems and all that stuff you thought was a big deal back then. And you look back on it and say, what a waste of time. But I was kind of having trouble going to practices or getting to practice and stuff. And it was just I would show up for the shows. And so that's not really commitment anymore. I was just kind of halving it. I wasn't giving 100% like I was back in the earlier days of our formation. So that was me first. I was replaced by Tony Fortner. Tony Fortner's, I've never had nothing against Tony, and I'm still friends of his to this day. I haven't talked to him or seen him in years, but he's still out there. I know he's on Facebook, and he's still around. Tony's a good guy, great singer. And then Zach exited the band, shall we say, and he was replaced by Sean Robinson, Brad's brother. So you had Sean on bass. And at the time I left is when they changed the name, right? Psycho Love Tribe? Or after?
So this is a long time ago, so my best recollection is that whenever Sean Robinson was trying out, or they jammed with him once, and then I saw you at one of our gigs, and you're like, dude, did you hear Sean try it out? And I'm like, what? And so me being always a spontaneous guy, I'm like, you got to be kidding. So I found out, and then I just quit that night. I was like, you know what? This is my last gig. Screw you guys. So, but I think that I might have been on the way out because I think you had mentioned this in some of your other stories with Mike, maybe, that they were starting to really go hardcore. The Henry Rollins, the Pantera, and my friend Kurt Mitchell and I used to call it barking music. And so, and I was never, ever into that, still am not into that. So it seems like we were drifting apart at that time. And so that was similar to you, kind of on my way out anyway. So that was just a nice little crescendo, tie a bow on it, go about it.
And then, of course, the icing on the cake, Kobe Cady came in.
I actually played with him, so we got rid of Chad, or however that happened. Chad quit, got rid of him, whatever that is.
I'm sure he stopped showing up. I'm sure he resigned.
he don't remember resigning, actually. So so Kobe, we played with Kobe for a little while. I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months, and then I made my departure.
Oh, so Chad was before you.
He actually was, I think. Now, I'm trying to think of the timeline, but actually he was.
I think you're probably right. I did.
Because I for sure played with Kobe, for sure, because we were really into the Smashing Pumpkins right when they come out. Yep. So I always appreciated that about him.
I remember going to remember they used to let us set up at the Silver Bullet on Wednesday, Thursday night, so we're ready on Friday. We're not hauling everything in Friday afternoon, and we'd go ahead and have just a sound check or rehearsal, and just use it for band practice, drink, and get up on stage and do stuff. And I remember going in there one time watching you guys get set up, or Kobe when he was in another band, I'm not sure, but he played the intro to that Smashing Pumpkins song on the drums.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of the song is right now, but man.
I think it was I Am One or one of their ones off the
I was going to say probably I Am One because the drums in that are crazy.
Dude, I stood there, I was just amazed. This guy's from Wichita. I mean, I played with a lot of drummers, but never nobody that good. I mean, he was excellent. I don't know what happened to him or where he went.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was probably one of the better drummers I ever played with too. And Jasper as well. We'll talk about him, I'm sure, in a little bit. Jasper. But yeah, there's some great drummers. I definitely never fit in with the whole great musician thing. I was serviceable, but boy, I could rock a show.
Yeah, I think that's why me and you were like two birds of a feather, so to speak. You do the same thing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's
So-
exactly right. And here we are 30 years later.
Yeah. So Zach and I would still hang out.
Rocking another show.
We'd still hang out at each other's houses. We'd see each other out sometimes. We'd go out together sometimes. And we just thought, what are we going to do next? Well, one night we just came up with the crazy idea to let's do something different. Instead of talking about what those guys are doing and caring about the whole town is falling apart and they're just playing all this hard, what'd you call it, barking music?
Barking music.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. And I thought about what does me and Zach have in common? We have a lot in common as far as the Doors and Hendrix and old stuff. I mean, old music that we still like. Zach's dad was into he had the Montrose and who was the other bands? He also had the
MC5.
Slade album. Your dad had a great album collection. He had Slade. He had Humble Pie.
Slade, yes. Yeah.
Humble Pie.
All those guys. And of course, the Stones.
Yeah.
They were always up there, every album they ever made.
So when Zach would
that's the kind of we were.
when me and Zach were bandless, so to speak, we would sit around and listen to that music. I thought, what if we put a band together and played this kind of stuff? What if we dressed different, like just our own style, and we don't have to do what everybody else is doing? And we play real music, and we pick this style of songs, and then we start eventually writing our own cover tunes, or our own originals that kind of sound like the cover songs we're playing, and get a band together. So that was our idea at first, and so next thing you know, we're rolling with the idea. We're auditioning guitar players and drummers, and trying to get a band together and just start practicing and putting a song list together, making the little tapes we used to make to send to each other. And here, learn this tomorrow, or learn these 4 tomorrow, whatever. And then Zach's mom went and made him a suit, right? A paisley suit. So
Coolest thing ever.
Bell-bottom pants,
thing
a
ever.
matching jacket, bell-bottom pants, and he would rock that thing on stage with no shirt on underneath it. And we had the rug that we'd roll out on the floor like the Black Crows on the stage. We had the incense burning. Before the show, I'd light about 10 sticks of incense before we came on and started the show. And we were doing exactly what we wanted to do. We were doing the Stones.
Don't forget about the black lights and the banner, and it was a sensory experience.
Yep,
You went from rolling fog on the stage to incense smoke.
Yeah.
That kind of probably tracks.
Didn't smell like coconut.
Drug use, actually.
Well, yeah, there was some other smell in the air sometimes because we were embellishing that time period, the 60s, 70s music. So we had to fully engulf ourselves in everything like it was 1967.
You got to be all in. That's for sure.
And the name of that band was 69 Flowers. So we kind of revolved around the time of 1969, right before everything kind of changed. And, the 60s was over, the 70s was coming in, and everybody was a little confused, and it was getting to be harder rock. Hard rock was coming. Sabbath was just around the corner, all that stuff. So we didn't do anything too heavy like that. We kind of stayed light. We did some Ted Nugent. We did, a little bit of everything. But yeah, you're talking about Jasper, the drummer, Tony Griffith on guitar. Jasper was a great drummer. He had a 37-piece kit that we used to carry around.
With a cage.
With a cage and a gong.
And a gong.
The only thing I liked about that drum set was the gong. I said, dude, where's
when
the gong?
You got a gong, that just puts you on another level, brother.
Yeah.
And he was a good drummer, but the gong just set him
I want to
apart
know what
from
you
all
use
others.
the gong for.
I don't.
You don't need to use it. You just have to have
You just have to have it.
it. In case you want to use it.
I don't even think it worked.
In case you feel led, like you always bang on the gong.
One show we got set up on the stage, got ready to go and start the show, light the incense and everything. I looked over and said, dude, where's the gong at? He said, I decided not to bring it out tonight. I said, you got to bring it every night or you're fired.
You're not hired. The gong is hired. The gong brings you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So out of all of us
You're
guys,
a package deal, bro.
out of all of us guys and all these bands that we've always been in, or we know people that have been in them, there's guys like Vinnie that never stop playing. They're still performing around Wichita. They've made a name for themselves. The club owners love him. He brings people in. The people that see him have been seeing him for, 25, 35 years now. But the one guy that I know is still in the business and still recording in studios, playing session stuff for other bands, hard rock stuff mainly. I mean, probably pretty hard rock, is Jasper Line, the drummer. He's still got a deal with Pearl. He's still got a drumstick deal with Pro Stick or somebody like that. But he's still endorsed by a couple different companies, and he still goes in the studio and does a lot of work with people. He's even been on tour.
Are you still in touch with them?
Yeah, I talk to him all the time.
Okay.
He's in
So that's all
Nashville
for
now.
real.
He moved to Nashville where he can be closer to like the music scene, and him and his girlfriend or
Okay.
something.
That's sweet. That's awesome.
I'm not sure. That That same girl that he used to live with in Wichita where we had band practice at?
He has a tendency to do that. He's kind of like Ian in that way. I don't know about the same one, but like he always finds somebody to live with and take care of him.
Yep.
He needs it.
And Tony Griffith, he's a realtor in Wichita now. He's selling real estate. He tried it in Las Vegas for a while. Didn't work out for him. The market was just different out there, too high price. He moved back to Kansas. He's got a teenage daughter. She's doing very well. Tony's doing great for himself. He's also in the stock market. Zach, tell us about you and what you're doing up in Kansas City with the IHOP. And we're not talking about pancakes here.
Yeah, I'm a supervisor at IHOP. No, so we are part. When I first moved up here, we're telling people, yeah, we're going to go be a part of IHOP in Kansas City. And they're like, why don't you just work at the IHOP here in Wichita? Like, why? Like, you can stay in Wichita and do that. So but this is a ministry called the International House of Prayer. And it's been going on since September of 1999. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week worship and prayer meeting. And so we have full worship teams going on anytime, day or night, 2 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, Christmas Day. And so they started in 1999. We moved here in 2007. So we started to connect with them. Let me just back up, I guess. So after the band times, I was so strung out on drugs and everything and just so tired of the whole scene. So by the time I was 21, I was just done with it all. When I could actually get into these clubs legally that I've been playing in for like 5 or 6 years. And so I'd always been a Christian, but never really living it out. So I really just started spending some time reading the Bible and seeking the Lord. And then in 1997, I had this just crazy supernatural experience that totally changed my life and it just really had me sold out for the Lord. It's a total long story, but it was like this crazy supernatural experience. And so ever since then, I wanted to start being in ministry. And then I got married in 1999, but I was in construction. So I started a construction company just in order to make money and be able to have a family and all that good stuff. But I always wanted to be in ministry. And so we had connected with this ministry, IHOP KC, in 1999 and started coming to conferences and different things. And then in 2005, my wife and I just really felt like, what are we doing with our lives? Like, I don't want to look back when we're 80 and have regret. Like, I wish we'd have went to Kansas City. And so we thought, let's just do this. And so with IHOP, we are considered missionaries. So just like if you were to go to Africa to go on a missions trip, we raise our own support. So we decided, if we can't make this work, let's just do it for a couple of years. And if we have to go back to work and do our jobs, then let's do it. And so we moved here 2007, been here 14 years now. So I'm one of the pastors here, doing a lot of community outreach. I also started recently this year an organization called Minding the Gap. It's a 501c3, and we focus on the academic achievement gap in children. So I do a lot of work in the local public schools here, the urban core schools. There's just a real crisis in education for the lower socioeconomic demographic. And so we really are focusing on teaching reading skills to like kindergarten through 5th grade. And then we also do like an after school Bible program, but we're really focusing on building self-esteem. Just the fact that you have a Father in heaven, he loves you, he's got a plan and a purpose for your life. And just to really build their self-esteem that, hey, I can actually learn, there's somebody that cares about me. And so that's what we've really been doing the past, I started that this year. And then, so that's what we've been doing like the last 14, 15 years here in Kansas City. I'll mention that I've been married since September of 99 as well, 22 years, to a wonderful, awesome accountant, smartest lady in the world, Holly Nicolson. And then I've got 5 kids now. So
You got
definitely busy times.
You got 5 kids now? So
5 kids.
2 or 3 of those are yours, and then you adopted a couple, right?
Yeah, so 4 of them are ours, and then
4.
we adopted 1. So
Okay.
the oldest is at KU, Macy Nicholson, first year at Kansas University. And then we've got a junior, a sophomore, junior, freshman, and then 2 7th graders. And then my 7th graders are 1 month apart. We adopted a girl from Honduras when she was 2 in 2011. And so, yeah, it's been crazy busy, but such a good time of life.
Yeah, you sound busy. I'm just amazed how a guy goes from being strung out on drugs to all that activity right there. 'Cause you weren't, I think you used the word strung out a little bit too loosely. You weren't strung out.
Oh, I don't know. I was so depressed, and because at that time, like with 69 Flowers, like we really started like dropping acid and smoking pot, and like it was just crazy after that time. And that was my whole identity was playing in bands. Like you're 15 years old and you're going to these clubs and you're playing to like 25-year-old people and 30 and packing these clubs out, going to Oklahoma. All I ever wanted to do in life was be a rock star.
Yeah.
And so when you're having all of this, success, all you can think of is I don't need school. Like I never went to school. I didn't have to go to school. And so when all that was gone, like you just get tired of it after a while, and then you're not in a band anymore, and then you really start thinking about life. So yeah.
Well, I got out of it because there was no success. So what happened after I left? Did you guys?
Well, it's funny what we define as success when we're 16 years old, and what like a 25-year-old, a 35.
Mike, you were part of that success.
I also think I'm part of not setting a good example. Is what it sounds like.
I mean, let's think about this for a second. You mean that I can have free beer, make about $50 a weekend, and like play for a couple hundred people and make a demo tape? Like, what else could you want in life?
And pick a girl for the night.
And there's that too. So
Yeah.
to 17-year-olds,
Zach
that
at
is
16,
success.
hanging out in the clubs.
I guess you're right. We did have a lot of success, didn't we?
And then when you turn 21, 22, you figure out maybe that's not so successful.
Yeah. You look back on it,
But
it's a little
was
different.
fun.
Yeah, it was. I
fun.
mean,
Lord always has a plan.
I'm
I
just
was
glad.
I was telling my friend Carrie the other day or yesterday actually about Zach and like how when I moved to Phoenix, me and Zach would write letters to each other.
I
And
remember that.
Zach would write me a letter from science class. He's like, I'm in science class right now, and like talk about that. And I wish I had it. I actually looked for it, but I have your senior picture with your bass. Your senior
yeah.
pictures you took with your bass.
Oh yeah.
I
Yes.
think I've still got one of those somewhere.
I have one
Bro,
somewhere too.
I put that up on Facebook, like, I don't know, like a year or two ago, just like because everybody's posting their senior pictures. Oh, look at me. And I'm like, guys, you've never seen a senior picture like this one. And it was like the most, I am Facebook famous, bro. And what's so funny is
It was pretty
in
cool.
ministry now, like with my little short haircut and being a pastor. They know I'm a little bit crazy, but they don't know the half of it. So when they see
Yeah.
that picture, they're like, oh, wow, you really were. Okay. I get more credibility for my testimony now.
So if those people ever walked into your mom and dad's house, they would see the 12 by 16 of on the wall over there. Is that Zach?
Well, that's the funny story about that picture is that when I did my senior pictures, like they're like, we've never done a photo shoot like this one. If you would let us use this picture to display in the Wichita airport for, I don't know, 3 months, we're going to blow it up, make this nice frame. If you let us use this for advertising, we'll give this to you. So that's where that actual portrait came from. Was senior
You were
pictures.
successful.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what.
Well, you know what you did
You're
though.
Wichita famous.
Look, have you seen senior pictures these days? What they look like? They're nothing like they
Yeah.
used to be with just the sitting still with your tie.
That's exactly why I put it.
Zach
up.
started that.
Zach started the whole thing.
That's
You
what
go
I'm
senior
saying.
pictures now. They're downtown Mansfield against the brick wall, looking like this. They've got a motorcycle. They got their
That's
pet,
exactly
their favorite
right.
dog, or they're all different nowadays. Not like it used to be. They were just used to just run through the dang thing with the screen behind us. Sit down, take a couple pictures. Next.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we changed the scene on that one, and I got me a nice portrait to show for it. And what's really funny too, one time, this is probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I'm getting ready to teach one of our sessions here at IHOP, so it's a class of like 200 people. And my wife and my kids thought it would be real funny to bring that picture, and set it up there right before I start teaching. So like for the whole hour, I finally had to take it down. They're like, "That's not you, dude. Really? Oh my gosh!" So that portrait still has life on it.
That's you.
Yeah.
You look strung out.
Hey, that was pre-strung out. I was only 17 at that time.
Oh,
I had 3 or 4 good years left. Ruining my body.
yeah, really. If I could have those years back just for that purpose only, just to be in better shape, better health wise.
I'm still going down the same road.
So Zach, what are you listening to these days?
Oh, I knew that you were going to ask me that. Like, what are you listening to? Like, I have been so out of music for like forever. So you can't even ask me those questions unless you want to hear about old music. So,
What about TV? Have you seen that Beatles documentary yet?
well, I was about ready to mention the Beatles. So I've always been a big Beatles fan. when John Lennon was killed in 1980. I was 8 years old. My parents were separated. And it was a really rough time. And I loved the Beatles. And then when he died, like that was actually so traumatizing. And so I've always listened to the Beatles, but for some reason I've never listened to Abbey Road, like the whole thing, just like from start to finish. And my daughter, my senior or my one in KU, about a year and a half ago, was vibing on Abbey Road, and I'm like, finally listened to it. That's like one of the greatest albums ever. So I'm still loving that one. And then with that Beatle documentary, we started watching that the other night, and they've got a song on the Let It Be album. I've Got a Feeling. And I'd never listened to Let It Be either, because that was like the last album. They threw it together. There's a couple songs on there. But that song, so that's what I'm listening to these days. Abbey Road and I Got a Feeling. So do yourself a favor, check those out.
I could be wrong on this about those two albums. But they say Let It Be was the last album. But apparently they recorded Abbey Road after that, but they just released it first.
I think that's actually right. But with Let It Be, it seemed like it was like really like thrown together. And then actually a funny story on that Let It Be album, there's a song called Maxwell's Hammer or Maxwell's
Silver
Hammer. Yeah. And it's so goofy. I mean, it finally grows on you a little bit. But apparently that, and I don't know how true this is, was the album that really, or the song that really broke up the Beatles, because all the guys hated it, but Paul McCartney was so like into this song and they spent so much time on it. And they were already mad at each other apparently, and that was a swan song. So interesting little tidbit.
Well, have you ever seen the Sgt. Pepper's movie with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton?
I've always seen snippets of it, and when Aerosmith had come together, but like I've never watched the whole thing. So
because Maxwell's Silver Hammer is in that movie, and Steve Martin sings it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might have to watch this. That's my new.
It's good. It's
homework.
got Alice Cooper in it. It's got a whole bunch of people, but different versions by different people of the Beatles songs.
Don't listen to it. It's terrible.
I always remember, yeah.
But it's got some cool. It's got some cool music scene. But as a movie, it's terrible.
I remember Steven Tyler there singing "Come Together." Yeah. Speaking of strung out.
Yeah. So I started watching the documentary. I haven't even made it through the first episode yet, so I got 2 more to go after I finish this one up. But it's pretty interesting. I mean, and everybody's talking about it, so I got to get on the track with everybody else and get caught up on it. But as far as what you're listening to lately, I mean, I'm kind of the same way as you. If something comes along that grabs my attention, I mean, I don't listen to the radio anymore. So with the rock station down here is called the Eagle, KEGL, kind of similar to T95, but no Bachman Turner overdrive. And
well, it's not a rock station, then.
I don't even listen to that anymore. I listen to sports talk. I listen to talk. I listen to news. In the car, I just don't listen to there's nothing that grabs my attention as far as music. I've heard it all. The new stuff coming out, I'm really not into. So, I mean, like Joe and Dylan, they'll turn me on to stuff that they like, that they're talking about. I can tell by how into it they are that I go check it out. And Joe's holding up something. What is that, Joe?
It's a record store day release from the Coat Hangers and LA Witch. There's all kinds of really good music out there.
Those are Zach's favorite bands, I think.
Yeah,
I think so. They asked me to play bass. They asked me to play
Coat
bass.
Hangers.
Well, hey guys,
you look like a rock star with that gray platinum blonde hair. So you should join our band.
Hey, we've run out of time here. Zach, thank you for joining us, man. It's good having you. We'll have to do a follow-up episode just like we'll do one with Michael Lacey one day. There's lots more to talk about. Joe didn't get on the one with Mike Lacey. I don't remember why.
Yeah.
But we did like to do a follow-up and just kind of go over some of the stuff we didn't talk about because, you and I and Joe, Mike Lacey, we've been friends for so long. We got so many stories. Some that we can't air on this family-friendly show, but, there's still lots of stuff to talk about. But thanks for joining us on Rockapedia. Zach, take care of yourself. Stay in touch, sir.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Love you, Zach. Everybody, thanks for joining us on Rockapedia. Peace out.
Love you.
I want to rock!